Back again. Business not as usual. The podcast. I'm Vince. With me, as always, Michael Martino. Michael,
Vince,
how are you, buddy?
very dramatic opening. It's
You know,
very dramatic.
I'm in a very subdued
It was very dramatic.
mood at the moment.
Have you been rocking the mic this week or something that you're?
I have been. It has been a crazy week. So I have been. I feel like I've been at my laptop, preparing training for the last month. So between building out course content for the day job, and then I have been developing a number of courses in my side gig that I've actually sold, which is kind of cool. But it's I feel like all I've been doing is creating training material, and it's been sort of a funny thing because I'm used to doing it live, and it's a difficult task to actually translate it into a virtual sort of video on demand format, because what I'm worried about is that people are going to put the video on and walk away. And so I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the delivery of training
Right.
in a virtual format.
Yes, I think anyone who's had to try to get in front of people and then do a lot of talking is also even live. Live is hard. You have no way of reading what's going on, and so it's a good point when it comes to a transformation, right? If we were pre-COVID, we would say we need to do the right training. Now we have to do the right training, and are we making sure it's delivered in a way that's consumable?
Right.
And so if we take a shot at the first one, let's talk about the first one. When people are coming into a transformational program, you do pick the rule is you pick the best and the brightest.
Sure.
But they may be the best and the brightest, but they may not have the skills you need right off the jump. So if we were to strategically pick, because no program is going to train everyone up, right? You have to strategically pick what you need to train people up on. What do you think are the important things as a program starts to ramp up that people need as a baseline? Mm-hmm. So at least there's a common understanding, a common language, and a common set of tools to get the work done.
Yeah. I want to just go back to, I will answer your question. I'm not ducking it, but I want to just, you mentioned, I'm not ducking you. Hey, duck you. So I'm not ducking you, but I want to just most every program talks about we're getting the best of the best, but that is a very subjective thing. I think, and we've talked about this in the past, when you say I'm going to get the best of the best, are you getting the best person at their job, or should you be getting the best person from a mindset perspective? Because it's different to be successful in their job versus as part of a transformation. So that's one thing I think most businesses focus on getting the best doer, and not necessarily the best thinker. So that is a key piece.
Right.
In terms of, what kind of training people need as part of a transformation, it really depends on what is the role that they're going to play as part of the transformation. So are they going to be involved in a heavy change, which sort of goes part and parcel with transformation? Then you probably want some upskilling in change management, organizational change, organizational development, you're going to want some sort of background in that. And I'm gonna tell you some of the things that I think, but I want to say, coming back to my earlier point about mindset, the mindset is more important than the actual, skill.
Agreed.
As part, so I said early off the jump that I've been building course content, and one of the courses that I've sold and is near done, and by the time this publishes should have already been posted and ready for consumption. Wink, wink. Is a course on enterprise analysis, and it's called, oddly enough,
Enterprise analysis.
Enterprise analysis, not as usual. Building on our new
Nice.
brand of not as usual. And the whole point is, like, every business analysis course that I've ever seen is heavily focused on tools. I'm going to teach you a tool. I'm going to teach you how to use it, but it never actually teaches you how to think. And that, to me, is more critical.
Right.
So, whether you're talking about understanding change management or process improvement or business analysis or project management or risk management or like anything, it's understanding and conveying the mindset. And I think that's a piece that is largely missing in organizational training today. And that's, to me, I saw a gap and I'm trying to fill it with my little niche. But having that mindset is important. Not to keep plugging the program, but I think having an understanding of enterprise analysis, and it's not necessarily to be an enterprise analyst, but to be able to look down on the organization like an eagle and just survey the area and like see how all of the different pieces fit together, and then understand how each area impacts every other. So as you change something over here, the change is not isolated to just that area. There's a ripple effect to other areas. And so being able to look down from a strategic perspective is key. And I think to me, that's one of the things that if I was new into a transformational program, that's the first thing that I would learn, because that's the thing that's going to help me the most.
I think that's all good stuff. What I think when you were talking, I think that what I want to separate from this conversation is the niche things that we're not going to train people on, as opposed to the things that you've just talked about, which I think are important, because these are people. Because people are probably like I was like, what about service design, and what about digital, and should we know about that? And those are things that particularly you could either get into the program or you can hire in. But from a pure business perspective, the people that know the business, because eventually we're going to get people need to know the business of what's happening today and where we want to go, and have all the inputs from all these other, all this other work that's been done. So when I say what training should we have, yes, these other things are important. Service design, digital, all these other things are important. But those are the things I think you bring in, as opposed to core business going, these are the people that have to take all this information. And what set me off was your eagle eye. Like they have all this information, like, okay, now this is where how all these pieces fit. And this is the framework in which we're going to put it in. So I just want to kind of frame what we're talking about. Like there's a million pieces that are important. We're talking about the pure business transformation has to happen that needs your business people. And these are the things that they need to be able to pull the puzzle together, as you said, Vince.
Yeah. And so, and like, again, let me push back a little bit on that one, because again, you're bringing in people that have an understanding of the business today, which, if you're going through a transformation, may look very different. And so I'm not so concerned with how people understand the business today. I'm more concerned with, so I guess not so much the technical skill of, Six Sigma or operational area, or I'm good at this, like whatever, but the types of people that do well and this is hard to train, but it's in those, non-technical, the proverbial soft skills, which are the hardest to get. So even that name is a misnomer. Like being able to collaborate, being able to elicit, which is, I guess that's a BA skill.
So I just want
to
get back to a soft skill.
Yeah.
I think, when people say, "Oh, those are the soft skills," I think it is completely undervaluing them.
They're just non-technical,
as opposed to the hard. Like this is the real stuff, the hard skills. These are the real, and then those are the soft skills. Except for those are the skills that get you over the line in the transformation.
And the soft skills is what differentiates you.
Yes, we need to stop calling them the soft skills. It's like, oh, that's the fluffy stuff. No, that is not the fluffy stuff. So for anybody who's listening, stop with the soft skills. They're important skills.
I like to use, and maybe we can get this as a thing, cognitive skills.
Skills not as usual.
Skills not as usual. But no.
Yes,
they're cognitive skills, right?
Correct.
It's part of your makeup.
Yeah.
Part of the course that I've been building, there's a module on bias and overcoming bias. Like bias is a major can be a major detractor from a transformation, because you already have in your mind what works and what doesn't.
That goes back to your mindset. So I wasn't suggesting just because they're in the business and they've been there for a long time that we take them. What I was suggesting is these are people that are in the business that see the future. They know about the current, but they see the future. But even the people with best of intentions and believe in the future have a bias to what works today, what doesn't work today, what worked in the past. But we have to remember, just because we're calling something a podcast that maybe didn't work 10 years ago, it doesn't mean it's not going to work today, because we don't know the environment. We don't know how it was implemented. We don't know the philosophy behind it, as opposed to us trying this thing called podcast again, and then we're doing it 10 years later. So don't think just because, and a lot of businesses go through this. Oh yeah, we tried that 10 years ago, it didn't work. That's just that you're just recycling old ideas. No, maybe the idea didn't work. There's many factors why the idea didn't work. Just because it was tried 10 years ago, it doesn't mean it's obsolete. It just means maybe you didn't implement it properly.
Maybe it was ahead of its time.
It could have been 10 years ahead of its time.
The technology didn't
help you.
Right? Like there's so many possible permutations of why something didn't work. The players are different. Like you have a new person in charge versus, the old like there's so many reasons why, and I'm not saying bang your head against the wall and keep trying stuff till it works. Like don't do that either. But just because something didn't work, the input variables have changed.
Correct.
So revisit, right?
Yeah.
Like look at all the things that didn't exist 10 years ago. So, like 10 years ago, a phone was a phone. Like your cell phone was a phone.
Yes.
Now
it's not that anymore.
Now I get pissed if people call me.
What are you calling on my phone for?
Somebody called me at lunch today, and I'm like, "Yeah,
your phone across the room."
No, I was doing
nonsense.
I'm like, I'm not answering.
What is this? 2017? You're calling me on my phone?
Honestly, so like that. So it's that those cognitive skills that are the differentiator between success in a transformation at a individual, at a team, and at a program level.
Yeah.
But like those are the skills that are important.
Totally agree.
And seen.
Totally important. So now let's go to what you started with, because I think that's giving you some cause for concern. I think just talking to you in general and how you started the podcast about you're doing all these sessions, right? And you're just in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And all this work that you're putting in, are they going to be able to consume it and understand it, or they're just going to let it play and said, yeah, I did it?
And that's what worries me.
Yeah.
Because I can't, I've done this for so many years. that I have a very good sense of when people are getting it.
Right.
It's funny. I will tell some of my workshop groups, like, I almost have like a Jedi sense when it comes to questions, to the point where if I sense there's a question in the group,
Mm-hmm.
I will stare at the person until they ask it. And so I did a conference last year where I said that, and people were like, yeah, whatever. And then it happened, and I went silent for about 10 seconds, and I was staring at this person at the back of the room. And then the person next to them said, okay, you're freaking me out. I have a question and I didn't want to ask. And I said, I got close there, but I sensed there was a question, and it was like you just didn't want to ask it. I don't have that same ability when delivering virtually. The problem is...
sorry,
go ahead.
You have the same thing when you're recording.
Yes,
you may have it if you're delivering it virtually live. You may, maybe if you have like a Zoom where everything is tiled and you can see people's faces, and like maybe you can get a read, but you've been sitting,
talking to yourself,
and you hope that this stuff resonates.
Right.
But it is a big, now that we're all at home and all indications we're not going to go back to wait pre-March, this is what most people, when we're having these sessions, have to overcome, because you're not going to get the chance to read the room as much as, like, maybe you will online, but not in a room. That'll be far and few between. These recorded sessions will be the way of the future. So these are like, you're kind of moving in uncharted territory on how to keep people engaged.
Right. And that's the piece that I'm trying to figure out. Mm-hmm. So inserting little, quizzes along the way.
Right.
That hey, are you paying attention? Like, I've got one quiz. I've got one
blowhorn.
I've got one quiz that is one question, and it's are you still paying attention? Like, awesome. It's just meant to, like, provide a moment of levity.
Right.
In one course that I recorded, I did a 3-part intro, and in every part I threw to myself. So I did one of these, like, where okay, over to you, Vince, and then thanks, Vince, and that's how each video ended and started. It was like, just little things that seek to capture the attention of the learner. And this is stuff that I've been trying to figure out as I'm doing a lot more webinars versus, speaking in public, like live, because, you have to do things that captures people's attention, because it's only when you have their attention that the learning even has the potential to take hold.
Correct.
Right. If it was, and the subdued open was, I got some other stuff going on, so whatever, but the subdued, like, that's just how I'm feeling. But can you imagine if the whole episode of this was that? People would stop listening.
Right.
Can you imagine if I did a 20-hour course just talking like this and reading from my screen? And now we're going to be exploring risk management. Risk isn't like that. I would click off.
Yes.
So, I'm trying to intersperse me, like, you can probably see over, like, right over here, I have my green screen. I have been having fun with my green screen. You can see, there's my green screen. So I've been having fun with my green screen, which was this is the most I've used it, and it's incredible. I'm going to leave it set up permanently.
So what do you do with the green screen? Are you put it behind you and then you overlay backgrounds, or like, you don't have to give away the trade secrets, but what are the fun things you're putting there? Like, you're on a mountain, like, what are the things you're putting there?
I've been in a field where there are your paths dividing, and so I try to make the background image appropriate
to what you're doing. Okay.
Right. So so when I was talking about business drivers and threats and stuff, I had 7 charging warriors behind me.
Right.
I've been on the beach. I took some
Nice.
I took some tremendous pictures of a library in a hotel in Ottawa. And it was one of like I took the picture like 3 years ago, and it was like one day I'm gonna
need this.
I'm gonna need this. It's just for like back like, and so I was using that. It's just a little thing to again capture people's attention.
Right.
Because unless you have that attention, anything else you're teaching them is moot. Like
Right.
I could teach you anything, but if I'm droning on, you're
Right.
not going to pay attention, and therefore
Right.
the learning either is wasted or has to be revisited or won't be effective.
Right.
And so, just as in transformation, you've got to give the right level of training at the right time in the right way.
Yeah. So do you ever think you would do training live, like do what you do recorded but live? If you find that the recorded sessions aren't getting what you want or what you think that the people should be getting, would you kind of switch that strategy to live sessions?
So yeah, so part of the reason why I think people like the recorded sessions is they're cheaper. So
And you can do it at any time.
And I can do, and so that's the other thing is
They
like
can do it at any
it
time.
becomes very, very scalable. I'm creating, like, yes, I have been killing myself for the last 2 weeks creating this content, but when it's done, it's done. I may add, I may move some things around, but like the material's done, and now I just need to figure out how to promote it. So it's not like passive income, but it's the work of the content creation is done, which means people can access it whenever and wherever they are in the world. But I don't know. I think, like many things, the truth of what will shake out is somewhere in the middle.
Right.
I don't think that I will default only to virtual video training, but I probably will not do as much live training.
Right.
Live training is exhausting. It is, especially with a lot of the stuff that I teach, it's multi-day, 4 or 5 consecutive days. Like it's exhausting for the students. It's exhausting for me. So to be able to then take that and put it online means that they can consume it whenever. And, I don't have to kill myself constantly delivering training over and over, where it's like, remember we were talking about this, and the group's like, no, we didn't
that was
talk
another group.
I'm like, oh, that was last week. Oh,
right.
Shoot. Like that, there's nothing more awkward than that. Where, like,
right.
Where
you care about us a lot.
Yeah. I did an event last year where I did the same session. And it was about a 20-minute talk, 30 minutes. I did the same talk 5 times consecutively for 5 different groups. So they were rotating. The groups were rotating.
You stayed
and I stayed in my room. And so by the end, I was like, so earlier when I talked about this and people looked at me blankly, and I'm like, oh, we didn't talk about that, did we? Nope, we didn't. So it was one of the, because I have a framework when I speak, but it's not like it's not scripted.
Right.
So, like that. And I'll be honest, I won't mind if I don't have to travel as much, because, that's one thing that I do enjoy going to places like, Honolulu. But, it's travel, business travel is not good. It sucks.
It's not the glory, but
it's not the glory.
It's not the glory that it's not like different town every day. It's happening. No.
I mean,
I thought it was.
Look, so and this, I went to Honolulu last year to speak at a conference. I was there for 4 days. the first day, so I got in like late at night on, Wednesday. Thursday, I did a full day workshop. Friday, I was off, but that's when the jet lag kicked in.
Right.
So I literally I was in my hotel room until like noon, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This is my only day, quote, free.
Right.
I gotta at least go to the beach.
Right.
So I walked to the beach. I went on the sand. I put
Yep.
my feet in the water, and then I went back to my room.
Oh, jeez.
The Saturday that I was there, I was speaking at the conference, and then Sunday evening, I flew home. So I was able to hang out with a friend of the show, Jamie Champagne, who was on, or supposed to be on, was on episode 19, because we're recording these out of order. But hung out with her for the day, and like she showed me around a little bit. And,
Now you know.
But now you know.
You didn't know.
But,
now you know.
But that was it. Like,
right.
There was no sightseeing. There was no
fun.
There was no fun. I mean, and I had fun. I went to the mall. I
went to the mall. So imagine. So again, also students that have to do, like, if they just can't take courses when they want, they're also feeling that, right? They can't go to the beach or the mall because that's when we've decided that's when the training has to happen, right in the middle of the day when it's the greatest, when it's like 102, I can go to the beach, as opposed to maybe I went to the beach and now I'm going to do my training at 7:00 at night when the sun's about to go down. So much more flexibility.
I think if we don't leverage that flexibility, then we've missed a great opportunity, because the 9 to 5 is gone, because some people have kids that they need to take care of. Like, so if you have that, you don't get to really work 9 to 5. So you have people that are working 8 p.m. to 11, just to sort of catch, like, make up the hours if they feel that they need to.
But even in a program, you're running for the most part. And so to pull people out of doing that work, part of the reason we don't do training in a program or on a huge project is we can't afford the time to skill people up, because if we take them out of the class, like if we put them in a classroom for a week, well, that's a week of work not getting done. But now if they have access to these sessions, and I would assume you have them at like anywhere between half hour to an hour or 45 minutes to an hour, if they can do those at their time, right? They now have the program doesn't lose all that, like their like output. Plus we can continue to, if the program's for, like I was just talking to an agency here in Ontario that their transformation program is 7 years. Now you can't not have people upskill themselves for 7 years. So being able to do it whenever fits their schedule is perfect for them. And so to me, these recorded sessions are the way to go. It's just, people like you, testing and retesting if what you're doing is resonating. Because for me, on a program, we have to keep upskilling people, and at the same time, we have to keep marching. So how do we balance that?
And so I think if you maybe want to put that into your plan, right? Like, as you're planning, leave a week, and that's training week, right? Like, I categorically reject the idea that anybody doesn't have time for upskilling, whether you're in business as usual or in a transformation. Like, you need to make that time, because the time that you give will be returned back to you multifold.
Yeah. So the time you give your employees, the people in the program, to take those 3-4 days to learn something and then apply it, is of the benefit outweighs them not going there. So
and you end up going faster.
Yes.
Right. So, we the optics of I don't have time. I don't have 5 days. I can't
how,
do it.
How dare you? I'm
You
so
need,
busy.
you
I'm
need,
busy.
I'm so important. Like, you need to invest that time. But sure, if you want to, block off a period and say, hey, the last week of July, that's your training. Like, go find an online course,
Right.
or here's an online course. Your job this week is to do that course.
Right.
Then cool. Like, that's cool. Or do it like, hey, take the afternoon on Friday.
And
that's your learning time.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool too. Like, there's no right or wrong, but you need, like, especially if you've got a multi-year transformation, like 7 years, that's ridiculous. First of all, that's ridiculous. But whatever. You have to have some way of keeping the team engaged. And also, I mean, in many ways, for transformations, and you and I know this, Mike, like, the work itself is not the incentive.
No.
The work,
no.
like, so come out of it with something, right? And so, like, I'm putting together this Six Sigma yellow belt. The people that are going through it as part of a transformation, whatever comes of their involvement in the transformation, if they finish the program, they are certified yellow belts. Right? Like, at least now they have something they can put on their resume that is for them. And it wasn't, doing the work because they're really passionate about transformation.
I mean, the work is one thing, but coming out of a large program, you need to have learned new skills. You need to have stretched yourself. You should be in a position to, lead coming out of the transformation. That's the whole point. Like, that's the payoff for people that have spent 3-4 years of their life in project mode. Like, that's the point. And if the only thing to show for it is an output of work, that is not an incentive to go through what you have to go through being on a project. Project life isn't easy.
No, it sucks.
It's not easy.
It sucks at times.
I mean, at times it sucks. At times it's great. But you need something that, you need something that at the end of the day, it's for you. Like,
right.
I wake, those people, like, I get up and work out and no one can take, like, I've already accomplished something through the day. That's what I mean. It's not the workout itself, but you've accomplished something, you've done something. And so it just can't be the work. So, that upskilling is super important, and how we do it, going forward is going to be important.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't think there's any denying that there's going to be a rise in digital delivery of training. It's going to happen.
Oh, it has to.
It was already there. Again, this, like many things, this has accelerated that.
Yeah.
I published my first digital course 3 years ago. And so I guess, I was a little bit ahead of the curve, relative speaking. But and that one was such a failure, and I learned so much. It was epic. Let me tell you something. I read this thing, and it stuck with me. What's worse than having no students sign up for your course?
I don't know.
Having one sign up for your course.
That's worse?
That's worse.
Why
because
is that worse?
If nobody signs up, you actually don't have to create the content.
Right.
But as soon as one person signs up, as soon as they've handed over their money and invested in your program, you have to do it. So, the only thing worse than zero is one when it comes to online courses.
Right.
But that learning was not lost on me, because it's improved for this stuff that I'm doing. So
of course,
now, the production values are high. I mean, I'm using a green screen.
You got a green screen, for God's sake, with God's sake.
And a ring
warriors
light.
And stuff.
I got a massive ring light over there. It's like you
got a full studio back there.
I got a studio over here. But I had already been planning to do this. It just, COVID and all this has accelerated the need, because you still need to be able to do this, and you still need to be able to learn things. And we can't get together to do it now. And so, I think beyond this, there will be the option. Do you want the digital? Do you want the in-person? They will probably at some point cost the same.
Absolutely.
From a learner perspective.
Because
right?
as less people start going in person,
mm-hmm.
And more people go digital, it's just going to equalize.
Yeah. And so, again, another learning, right? I put out my course at a price. And as I'm now developing the content, it's like, this is underpriced.
Right.
So if you're considering signing up for enterprise analysis, not as usual,
you better do it now before the
now's
price
the
goes
time,
up.
because like it's probably about 30% underpriced for the content. So, and that would be what I would normally charge on a learner perspective, on an individual perspective for in class.
Right.
So it's gonna be the same. So it's really gonna boil down to the individual and what type of learning you want. The key thing is learning still has to happen. So from an organizational standpoint, as part of your transformation and as part of your business as usual, you need to then be able to give your people the option where you may need to engage a trainer to come in for the people that want that in-person experience,
right?
But also provide access to digital content should it be available, because that's how people learn.
Agreed.
But there is an absolute need for continued ongoing training of both the cognitive and the technical skills.
The skills formerly known as soft skills.
The skills formerly known as soft skills. And people loved when we talked about Prince.
Did they?
They loved it.
I'm glad.
So let's keep bringing back the Prince.
That's right.
These are the skills formerly known as soft skills.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome.
That's probably a good place to put yourself on mute, Vince. It's probably.
I was having water, and I didn't want anybody to hear me go.
Well, they can hear you. They can see you anyway.
See me is fine. You don't have to hear. Like, nobody needs to hear that. So thanks for calling me out there.
This would be a good time. What to hear from our listeners? What are your thoughts? How are you changing your learning? If you're in a program, did this resonate with you? And if you're running a business, how are you going to keep training your employees? What is the path you're going to take? So please let us know. And as usual, I am at michaelmartino.ca or on the gram at _Michael Martino. And Vince? Yeah,
VincentMirabelli.com or lovetheprocess.academy. It's a thing, man. It's a thing. It's so much fun. Anyways,
amazing.
Everyone, can't wait to hear from you and what you're doing with your learning. But thanks again for joining us on this episode of Business Not As Usual podcast. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.